of program, before the end of speech, the host will allow member to ask question or congratulate for speaker speech, or else don't send any message now. Of program before the end of speech. Yes, brother, start. Brother Dinak, start. Dinakaranji, can you start?
Universal invocation. Oh, hidden life vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee, know he is also one with every other. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Dear brothers and sisters, today I am very happy to introduce Brother N.C. Krishna. Actually, needs no introduction to this online gathering, because for the last few months, he was addressing you on various subjects, especially theosophical subjects, and you are all familiar with him. But just for formality and to inform the new listeners of this program, I would like to introduce him. He is the national lecturer of the Indian section, who joined at a very early age, at the age of 16. And he was greatly influenced by his maternal grandfather, and he then joined the Theosophical Society. He was the secretary of the Rayalaseema Theosophical Federation, and now a council member of the Indian section, and also the executive committee member of the Indian section. He has traveled all over India and addressed many theosophical gatherings. And I have seen some of his videos in the YouTube in Telugu language also. Telugu, as many of you know, is the largest language spoken in India after Hindi. So today he'll be addressing this wonderful book by Iqbal K. Taimani, Principles of T.S. Work. We'll be talking on the 5th chapter of this book, Organization of Work in a National Society or Section. It contains a lot of subheadings such as unity of purpose, strong center, qualified staff, funds, basic activities, etc., etc. It's a very important book written by Iqbal K. Taimani. Almost all his books are very familiar to the readers of the Theosophical Society. Books like Science of Yoga, Gayatri, and many other books, Occult Training of the Hindus. Many books are there. All these books are very science and occultism. This book is specially intended for the workers of the Theosophical Society, and especially the office bearers. So the importance of this book is very much. And we are very glad today that a very experienced member, a senior member, is going to address us. I welcome Brother Krishna to talk on this subject. Thank you. Over to Brother Krishna.
Thank you so much. I would like to be known as a sincere member of the Theosophical Society, besides all this which Janakaranji has mentioned. So I would like to submit very humbly that I was never asked by my grandfather to join the Theosophical Society. I just saw him, how he was, and I thought, yes, this is the way to live. That's how I joined the Theosophical Society. In fact, he asked me, are you really interested? I said, yes. Then he signed because he was the guardian and I was below the age of 18 to join the Theosophical Society. That's how it happened. I'm just giving a personal example. We shouldn't actually force anyone to join, but we should live perhaps the way his theosophy would allow us to live or inspire us to live. Right. We are going to consider, dear brothers, today the chapter 5 of this book, The Principles of Theosophical Work, authored by Brother I.K. Taimini, as mentioned by Brother Janakaran. Professor I.K. Taimini, who was a professor of chemistry who got his doctorate from England in inorganic chemistry. He worked in the University of Allahabad and all that. All these details perhaps you know. And who was an exponent of Saiva Siddhanta and was also well versed in all the aspects of philosophy and especially yoga. And he presented a modern version of the Patanjali Sutras. So his full name, interestingly, is Iqbal Kishan Taimini. Iqbal Kishan Taimini. Thanks to my maternal grandfather, who was permitted to stay and work in the Theosophical Society International Headquarters, we, the grandchildren, were very fortunate to live in that campus of the International Headquarters of the Theosophical Society. And I was also again lucky to know a lot of sincere members of the Theosophical Society. And one such person I came across was Brother I.K. Taimini. Though I was young, he spoke with a lot of love and affection whenever we perhaps interacted, even on the road or even in his room, where he used to stay quite close to the headquarters when he had come to direct the school of the wisdom. So that shows how much he cared for life. And he always had a broad smile on his face and very warm person and lovely person to meet. I will choose another occasion perhaps to share more details of our interactions. I'll spare that for some other time. And now, coming to the subject, coming to the brass tacks, we are considering what the author Taimini ji has written or authored about the organization of work in a national section. So we have, he says, the various sections of the Theosophical Society in each of the countries where the Theosophical Society is represented or is working. Say, for example, like we have the Indian section, which functions from Varanasi, and then we have the English section, the American section, etc. So we have these sections, and how they should work is perhaps what he concentrated or spent his time to explain to us. And some of the ideas which he has given are a bit shocking because they're not what we are doing now, what we are practicing now at the national level or at the lodge level or the federation level. So this is something very interesting, and perhaps we need to note all the details with a lot of interest and reflect on those things and see whether we can implement those things, those ideas. And he says the work of the Indian section, or for that matter, any section, depends on the type of people we have or the members we have. So the work of the organization has to be organized, and the work may be subject to the peculiar conditions which are prevailing in each of the countries where the sections are operating. But in general, he says, the work and principles and the general approach to the work of a section is indicated many perhaps changes, I would say, because I don't know whether any of the section does work the way he has detailed. So the sections work and the work of the international headquarters of the Theosophical Society should be complementary to each other, he says. They should work together. Whatever the international headquarters decides as the policy, that is something which the Indian section or section working anywhere should also think in terms of continuing that policy. So the sections work and the work of the international headquarters of the Theosophical Society should be complementary to each other. Complementary in the sense the section, the working of the section should echo or reproduce the spirit or the methods of work of the international headquarters. So a lot depends on what sort of policies the international headquarters will formulate and how those policies percolate down to the sections. So this is perhaps what he mentioned in the beginning. There should be, as the brief details have been given by Brother Dinakaran, there should be unity of purpose. Unity of purpose is what the author is suggesting. The purpose should be one and the same, and there should be a lot of united efforts which we should put in to achieve that purpose. So, unity of purpose is what the author is suggesting. In fact, the entire work of the Theosophical Society at all levels, say, for example, in India, we have lodges, we have the federations and the section. So, at all levels, they should have this unity of purpose. So, this is what he had suggested in the first instance, the unity of purpose. So, as said earlier, the sections, even the lodges and the federation should reflect that unity of purpose, and that is precisely and predominantly working for the three objects of the Theosophical Society. So we should work in tune with each other to attain progress and working for the three objects of the Theosophical Society, and establishing a nucleus of universal brotherhood in each member's heart. This is very important. Nucleus is not formed externally. It is something which is formed in the heart of each member. If that is taken care of, I think the society will be on firm lines and will progress fast. So this is one idea which he has given, the unity of purpose. And at all levels, the lodge level, the federation level, and the section level, we should support each other and work towards promoting the concept or the fact or the reality of the universal brotherhood and make it a living truth. So universal brotherhood is just not something which is there in the book or in the as a concept, but it should be made in all the lives of all people as a living truth. This is the whole purpose for which the Theosophical Society exists, and we have the various levels, the lodge level, the member level, I would say, the lodge level, the federation level, and the section level. So Theosophical Society should work together to achieve the objects of the TS, Theosophical Society, and carry on the work effectively. I think this effectively, this word effectively, has a lot of important meaning. Effectively means it should do all that is possible to see that the philosophy reaches people who are not aware of it, and people who know of it, they also live the right kind of life, which includes theosophy in their lives or leading a theosophical life. Perhaps this is what effective. See, some people are good, but they're not effective. So we need people who are effective, not some people who are goody-goody. So we need effective work, effective members of the Theosophical Society. So I am adding, Taimini has not put it in his book. Theosophical members, lot of places consider it as a weekly business or weekend business. It is not so. It is a continuous process, and the heart beats, isn't it? Heart beats. It should beat the beats of Theosophy. This is what I feel is more relevant and important. Okay. And he talks about a strong center. He talks about a strong center. So the section or the national headquarters, as some places it is called, the section headquarters, should be the hub, transmitting energy and inspiring the lodges and federations in its command. So the national headquarters or the section headquarters should work like a hub which is operating incessantly, transmitting energy and inspiring the lodges and federations in its command. So I do not know whether other sections have federations like we have in India, but we should talk about federations when it comes to the functioning of the Theosophical Society at the lodge level, at the federation level, at the national level. Right. It's a two-way communication. It's a two-way communication and commitment, says Brother Taimini, that should prevail. Two-way communication and commitment that should prevail through, though independent and autonomous, these lodges, they should constantly support the work which the section is contemplating, in turn, which the international headquarters is contemplating to do or to achieve. So if this mutual cooperation, if this mindful cooperation, if that is achieved, we'll have vibrant lodges, working federations, and a very strong center. And we will also have a very good international headquarters trying to spread this concept of Theosophy and the Theosophical Society all over the world. So if this mutual cooperation is not there between the section and the lodges, the work will suffer. The work will suffer. And why it will suffer? Because it will lack the vitality which is most required for functioning of lodges and federations and sections. So sections work, according to Taimini, is not just administrative work. He says it very, very bluntly. Sections work is not just administrative work, but we have to really take certain home truths and find out whether we are administratively very competent or we are also working at the level where the Theosophy and Theosophical Society also finds its roots in places which are untenanted. So this is something which the section has to do, is what he's saying. Section's work is not just administrative. The section also help and should offer. You should also help and offer directions, suggest the methods of work, and what to study. We used to have a position called the Director of Studies. What he would direct? Would he direct only the study camps? No, he would also send perhaps introductory lessons to all the new members who are joining. They're worth reading even by the existing members. And he would also perhaps give a sort of syllabus as to what sort of books should be read in each lodge. So this is what the Director of Studies used to do. Of course, he would be invited to head the study camps and study groups and things like that. But that position, I do not know whether it is there existing now, but it used to be there. So section work is not yet just administrative, but it should help and offer directions, suggest the methods to lodges for further the Theosophical Society's work. To further means to improve the Theosophical Society's work. Lodges, it is not enough if it serves the needs of the members who are locally available. So he says lodges also should do something different. and what we should think in terms of different work. Perhaps he has said that in a different place, but lodges, it's not enough. If it serves the needs of its local members, it should think in terms of approaching perhaps other people who are in the locality or in the town, and hold these lectures, hold these seminars, etc., so that public participation is ensured. So this is necessary to make the section stronger. The lodges, if they become stronger, the section will become stronger. The lodges, if they become stronger, the federation becomes stronger. So perhaps this is what he looked at. And if lodges are like limbs of a body, federations are like the vital organs to enable the center to function well. The vitality which is there in the body, that should be the force which will make the section work. And the section, the Indian section, or for that matter, any national headquarters, should pulsate with coordinated efforts and activities. The author says, section is not there merely for collecting annual dues and publish a magazine. So we think this is the most important thing. I heard once somebody saying that he spends 18 days in editing the magazine, which is about 36 pages or 40 pages. He says very clearly, we have to take lessons out of this, I guess. So the author says section is not there to merely for collecting the annual dues and publish a magazine and publish just the details of activities which have been reported by the lodges and federations. That's not the work of the General Secretary. Much more is there, perhaps that's our president, as we keep calling now. So that's perhaps the way he looks at it. The directions and initiative should come from the section headquarters. There must be constant effort to improve the efficacy of the work of the lodges. There should be constant effort to improve the efficacy of the work in lodges. And if this is done effectively, there will be no dormant lodges. That's what he says. If this work is done effectively, there will be no dormant lodges, sleeping lodges, or drop in membership. Author says, lots of times, the section feels its functions are limited to attend to the routine work. It's not so, is what Taimaniji is saying. Author says, lots of times the section feels its functions are limited to attend to the routine work. The initiative for any new line of activity, the initiative to be taken for any new line of activity should come from the section, and all the help which is required for all the lodges and federation should be available from the section headquarters, and the influence or the efforts put in by the section should percolate to the lodge level. So lodges can organize the work on its own based on the broad directions they receive to spread the work of the Theosophical Society and to convey the principles of Theosophy to the general public, not only to the existing members. Suppose 7 of our members read every day. It's not enough. These truths should be made available to others for around in a very succinct manner. Perhaps this is what the suggestion is. The lack of coordination in the existence and the presence of the dormant lodges, that itself shows there is lack of coordination in the Theosophical Society. That's what Mr. Taimaniji is saying. The lack of coordination perhaps is the result. The result of that lack of coordination is the presence of or the existence of dormant lodges and perhaps even federations. So this is what he is saying. There is no coordination. There is no continuous efforts that are being put in by both lodges and the federations and the section. Perhaps that's the reason. And we have got the duty of mapping the country with the Theosophical Society's influence on all those areas where Theosophy is not known. This is what we have to do. We have to add places in the map of the country we have. So this is the suggestion of Brother Timing. The author says it is the duty of the section to carry Theosophy to every part of the country. See this, it is the duty of this section to carry Theosophy to every part of the country and bring together lodges, federation, to establish centers and lodges in places where Theosophy and Theosophical Society is not known or present. Author says it is similar to, he gives an example, it is similar to a commercial organization which functions from its center or head office. It establishes outlets, branches in all the areas and places to improve the chances of its business and make available its products. So he is giving this example, like the center or head office of a commercial organization, as it spreads its activities through proper planning and execution, and control, effective control is exercised by the center on the branches. So, the similar fashion, the section's headquarters should plan to open lodges in every part of the country. The section should jealously guard, and vigorously promote the interests of the Theosophical Society everywhere. So there's a lot of coordination required, maybe a lot of interaction between federations and the section or the lodges even, as to where else we can open a lodge, and what is the effort we have to take. So the section has to work on these areas and not just manage the lodges which are there, or maybe make note of the lodges which are there. 144 lodges are there, or 145 lodges are there. That's not the numbering of the lodges, is not the thing, but they should also plan for opening new lodges, and especially in those places where it's not present. So vigorously, zealously guard and promote the interests of the Theosophical Society everywhere. He adds a point that there is nothing worldly or unspiritual about this policy of trying to reach everywhere. There is nothing worldly about it. There is nothing unspiritual about it. Means chosen, the methods chosen should be effective, says Brother Taimini. And the means and methods should be effective to achieve the object of spreading the influence of the Theosophical Society and Theosophy. And lodges should be seen that they're not self-centered. Not only lodges, federations also should not be self-centered, caring for their own federation or caring for their own lodge, not having any connection with the section and things like that. Suppose a lodge has considerable amount of money. This is one example he is giving. Suppose a lodge has considerable amount of money which it is not able to use properly. It should pass on the surplus to other lodges which are in need of funds. So this is a practical suggestion he has given, but we believe in building one more floor, or maybe reinforcing the building which we have and things. Of course, if the repairs are required, yes, we need to do that. But using the money effectively and for the optimum utilization, we could also take into consideration the lodges which need help. The surplus should go to other lodges. This is what he's saying. We should regard the work of the Theosophical Society as master's work. This is his words. We should regard the work of the Theosophical Society as master's work. So more prosperous lodges should help less prosperous lodges. This is what he said. Section should strive to get connected through strong ties with all the lodges in its command. I don't know whether the section does this effectively, whether the section establishes strong ties with all the lodges. I do not know whether this function is carried out effectively. So then the author talks about the work of the federations. I think this is in special reference to India, I guess. I don't know whether other sections also have federations. Then the author talks about the work of the federations. In a way, the establishment of a federation is to facilitate administrative work and to guide the lodges for better work to further the cause of the Theosophical Society and Theosophy. In lots of places, federations have become centers of authority, he says. In lots of places, federations have become centers of authority, and the role of the center has been weakened. This is his observation. So the role of the center has been weakened because each federation thinks that they are an authority by themselves. He says, that is, Brother Ike Taimini says, we have half-starved, half-asleep organizations. We have half-starved, half-asleep organizations, read as federations, working at the expense of the section headquarters. So if a federation is not active, it is pulling down the section's work. That's what he means. Asleep organizations and half-starved organizations. These are not going to help the work of the section. That is perhaps what he is suggesting. So such weak federations, actually, they go against the interests of the center or the section. In India, active federations are exceptions. This is the statement he has made. In India, active federations are exceptions. Majority of them are half asleep. This is what he is saying. So, or half dormant, half asleep and half dormant. One active federation cannot add value to the work of the section. So this we know. All the federations have to work well. So one active federation will not add value to the work of the section. He is strongly advocating appointment of workers. So Brother Taimini says there is need for appointing trained, experienced and energetic workers instead of depending on retired people who have already spent their energies in their jobs. With trained workers, we can plan better work and achieve better results. This is his suggestion. According to the author, federation should work under the direct control of the section headquarters. They, meaning federations, should work as intermediate agencies and not separate agencies with a lot of authority. And the federation should supervise the work of the lodges. If a lodge is showing a sign of weakness and slipping into dormancy, the federation officials have to take note of it and should step in to strengthen that lodge and not allow the lodge to become dormant and non-existent. So we should work to strengthen the lodges in all possible ways, not allow the lodge to slip into complete dormancy, and then reviving the lodge is very difficult. And then reviving the lodge once it goes into sleep or dormancy is very difficult. We have certain examples in our federations. We have been trying to revive certain lodges in the Royal Sima Theosophical Federation. We are finding it very difficult because the members either have moved into some other organizations, and we're finding it difficult. Even if we have gone 3 times, 4 times to the same place, we're not able to get together. Though we visit the homes of the people, they say we're busy with something else. Some other organization have taken them away. So this is how it is happening. There are examples in our own federation. How the members and even the places have been yielded to others, other organizations who practice better marketing strategies. Yes, this has happened. We had a place in Dharmavaram, which is in Anantapur district, that has been taken away by this Pyramid Spiritual Society. They have built a huge building there. So this is how the other organizations have taken away the places where we used to meet, because we are not meeting there regularly. Somebody else takes over the place and builds their own properties, and they manage to create a document saying that they have bought it and things like that. So this is how we're losing our ground. And they are practicing better marketing strategies. Marketing also is seen as a dirty word. Marketing also means familiarizing others with our philosophy and work and methods of work. So the arrangement and planning that that we should have is quite different than what it is at present. So this is what Brother Taimaniji was stressing in the portion. So the arrangement and planning that is required is different, quite different than what it is at present. So we need better planning and keep the section as the focal point. The author, Brother I.K. Taimini, says we require a band of competent workers who have expertise and specializations in respective areas. Expertise and specializations in respective areas. And the work should be entrusted to them and their work overseen, of course, so that they work responsibly, efficiently. In fact, the author suggested a different method of selecting the general secretary. In fact, the author suggests a different method of selecting the general secretary or the president of the section. In place of the present system of the Indian Section Council, I'm talking about Indian, I'm familiar with this. Indian Section Council members electing the general secretary, he advocates direct election of the general secretary of the section by its members. And that general secretary elected will choose his band of worker or his board of people who will be board members or cabinet and then plan his work. So the general secretary is responsible directly to the national section, council, and to the members who have elected him. And in a way, all the members who have elected him also look forward for due reporting by the general secretary. Right. To have continuity of policy, if one general secretary is elected, he should be allowed to stay in that position for 5 years. And definitely he is removable by a majority of vote, which should be taken in the National Council, says the author. He is removable by the majority of vote in the National Council. So this is what he's saying. Of course, the election is done by all the members, and the National Council is formed maybe by, again, nomination or choice. And the National Council will have the authority to remove the General Secretary by a majority vote. Having said all this, the author says these are all suggestions to be taken quite with a calm mind and heart. Lots of thought has to go into bring in modifications and constitutional amendments and to achieve better results. Lot of thought has to go into to bring in modifications, constitutional amendments, and to achieve better results. So Brother Taimini says one has to cautiously make experiments. We have to make experiments, but we have to make it cautiously, and we should not remain bound to the old methods. We should not remain bound to old methods. Even here, I would say, this is the practice, brother. Please don't disturb this. This is what I hear. If somebody is trying to experiment something new, immediately we pour cold water on that and say, this is the practice, brother. Don't disturb this. As if we have a practice which has to be there continuously. But we suppose one brother is suggesting a different method of presenting theosophy. We don't welcome it so easily. So these old methods, we should be able to look at that carefully, and we should not remain bound to the old methods, is what he is saying. And these old methods, according to the author, have not yielded results in practice. He advocates not to rely, again, he is saying this subject once more. He advocates not to rely on retired people to carry on the work and rely on energetic, trained, qualified young staff to achieve better results in our work. So we should pay these people so that they can work effectively and not introduce the practice or the policy of paying honorarium to the retired people. He is very clear in this. Our work requires energy, and we should need energetic persons to carry on the work. We have room for all the persons with various other capacities. So perhaps retired people also can contribute, and they have their role cut out. The work which suits them and which suits the work of the Theosophical Society. But the spreading of the Theosophy, establishing Theosophical Society centers and lodges to be given to young, energetic workers who work with a salary, looks like that. That's what he is hinting at. And then now he talks about funds. To employ relevant persons, the required persons, energetic persons, we need funds. Who will pay or contribute? He's asking this question. He says it's the members who do open their purses and contribute to the section. We can't expect the money to come from people who are not familiar with the Theosophical Society or Theosophy for that matter. So can we expect persons who are not familiar to contribute? Maybe yes, once in a way we get it, but the members have to open the purses. Purse means where we keep the money, and contribute to run the section. He suggested a method in those days. If each member contributes 1 rupee per month, if we have 5,000 active members, we can garner 60,000 rupees, is the example he has given. So this is the example he has given. If each member contributes 1 rupee per month, and if we have 5,000 active members, we can garner 60,000 rupees, is the example he has given. And let me take the example of our federation. We have about 800 odd people, and each of us puts aside 10 rupees a day, and then 12 months, it becomes 18 lakhs. So we can do a lot of work provided we plan. This is perhaps what he was suggesting, how to raise funds. Those days it was 1 rupee, and even now there are certain organizations which don't depend on donations from others, but they collect 1 rupee or whatever the members can give from their own members. So there is an organization which I know, maybe yes, we can talk to them as to how we can go forward. When we show good results, this is another thing which people say, when we show good results, the money would flow, the money will be received, we'll get more money. As members feel and understand that the money is being well spent. The money should be well spent, and if they feel they're confident the money is well spent and work will not suffer, is what Sri Kaimaniji is saying. Money will come from somewhere if we are determined to do our best. Money will come from somewhere if we're determined to do our best. Let us have faith in God, he says. Let us have faith in God. With a stout heart, we will go ahead with our schemes, says Brother Taimini. So this is what he's saying. And now coming to the other heading called basic activities. What are the basic activities one could imagine for the section? As he already said, opening and maintaining the lodges. So this is what he's saying. Each lodge shall work as a flaming center of the ancient wisdom. Each lodge shall work as a flaming center of the ancient wisdom. The better the lodge work, the better will be the way in which the ancient wisdom can reach many. So all the lodges have to remain active to disseminate the wisdom. The section should have a department which will concentrate on as to how to open new lodges. See, this is another department which is suggesting where the section should have and should concentrate. You should have a department, and the work of the department is to how to open new lodges. We should penetrate into deeper areas with our influence and see that Theosophical Society and Theosophy is made available to many. So the renewed efforts are required to inspire others' lives. Renewed efforts are required to inspire others' lives. We should explore new areas and adopt better methods to enhance the presence of the Theosophical Society. We should concentrate on new effective methods to propagate Theosophy. We should concentrate on new methods, effective methods to propagate Theosophy. And he has suggested certain method to open the new lodges. Opening of a new lodge should not depend on the effort of one who delivers to persons who have been made to come together, and he gives a lecture and perhaps few lectures. And if people are interested, then a lodge is formed. That's not the way to form a lodge, he says. He says the person who has not succeeded in opening a lodge after delivering a couple of lectures, he moves to another place saying, this place is not ripe enough to open or afford a lodge of the Theosophical Society. Perhaps this is how we are working. That's why he is mentioning this. Even after opening the lodge, the members are left to fend for themselves. This is perhaps not what Brother I.K. Taimini is suggesting. There should be follow-up action. And he says, after identifying a place, one group goes first to do the groundwork of talking to people on one-to-one basis and prepare the necessary ground to establish a lodge. So the first group of people go to the various places and they do the groundwork, talking to people on one-to-one basis, not necessarily in a big gathering. Then the second group goes there, meets people who have been met already by the first group from different walks of life, and the lecturers should lecture, who should address the deeper problems of life, who should touch the daily aspects of the people who have come to listen. So it should be so relevant. So Theosophy should touch the lives of people. That's the purpose. Theosophy should touch the lives of people. If it sounds metaphysical at the start itself, there is no use. So the contents given as lecture should address issues relevant to listeners' life, and that is Theosophy in its essence. That's what I.K. Taimini is saying. And Theosophy should become part of the life of the member or the person who decides to join. He would think, yes, this is something very related to my life, so I would take a plunge into this and become a member. So the lecturers should be properly trained. And he also says one more thing which is lacking. The lecture should be properly advertised, and persons should realize that this is related to the subjects chosen are related to the public's daily life. Then a lodge can be formed on a good foundation. Another set of lecturers then visit periodically to arouse and sustain the interest of the members and perhaps invite the attention of public. So this is divided. The work is divided into three. A group which will do the groundwork, then a person or group who goes to actually address those people and choose subjects which are relevant to the daily life. And the third group goes to sustain the interest created by the previous two groups. This is how he has suggested the work should be, the technique should be to open the lodges. So the truths of Theosophy to be presented at the first level when the groundwork is done and in a language which would appeal to the common public. The second stage, interest in Theosophy is aroused, large form, the lodges formed. Third stage, the interest is aroused once again in new members, sustained and developed in the existing members. This is how to start a lodge and develop a lodge. After forming the lodge, the truths of Theosophy are presented systematically and clearly every week or every day or whenever the lodge chooses to join, to come together. The new lodge should not be left to its own resources. This is what Mr. Taimini is saying. The new lodge should not be left to its own resources. A couple of well-trained members should visit lodges in the beginning stages till such time the members are able to carry on the work of study on their own. Having formed the lodge, and perhaps we give books or we don't give books, that's a moot point. But then if we all want one of them to study or explain to them, it may not happen. So the new lodges, the officials from the federation should go, or officials from the center, if there are big band of workers, they should go to address the members so that the work is continued and they're not facing the lack of resources or lack of people who will explain theosophy to them. So the periodic visit by federation lecturers and strengthening the lodges this way would help our work, says Mr. Tang. What is maintaining of lodges? Lodges that already are in existence should be taken care by another group of workers. So how many group of workers we should have, we can estimate. Maintaining of lodges, lodges that are already in existence should be taken care by another group of workers. No use of opening lodges and allow them to fall into dormancy, says the author. We have to maintain them. The lodge organizers or lodge inspectors, maybe some places they're called lodge inspectors. Lodge organizers or lodge inspectors appointed if they lack enthusiasm, and knowledge, then the lodges are not getting the fillip which they deserve, and attention also is not paid, and so they go or they slip into dormancy. So we should have people who approach this work with missionary zeal. This is the word he has used, or phrase he has used. We should have people, trained workers, who approach this work with missionary zeal, like the missionaries spread their work. And they should be encouraged to keep in touch with the lodges and its work. We should aim at swifter progress, faster progress, and concentrate adding more life to our work. More life to our work. That means we should bring more energy to our work. And the lodges then will become flaming centers. Publicity, another item which he has suggested, another heading which is suggested. Publicity of our aims and objectives through press, through lectures, maybe the methods through which wider publicity can be achieved. So this is what we have been doing, giving lectures and maybe writing articles. Not so many have done it, but yes, that requires to be done. Publicity can be achieved by adopting various different means as things have improved today. So he was talking about the press. Author says propaganda, again, this word has become cheap and routinist word. Routinist word means used routinely. So this is what we have done. Propaganda, this word has become cheap and routinist word. We should do all that is possible. To carry on and share the truths of ancient wisdom. No matter if members are becoming few sometimes, but we should continue the work, and even if new members are not joining, we should see that the work carries on, or work is carried on, and convey and share the truths of ancient wisdom to all those who are prepared to receive it. And we don't believe in converting people. Like other missionaries, but we present our ideas very clearly to enable people to see life from a different perspective, says Mr. Taimini. The receiver of knowledge then will lead life with greater purpose, greater richness, and fulfillment thus is achieved. The method to spread theosophy is not of a routine kind, but it's specialized, delicate, and it's a balancing job. We have to understand the psyche of the people. He says we have to understand the psyche of the people and appeal to that sense with required skill and zeal. Disregarding who is attending the lectures, if a lecturer feels happy that he has delivered a lecture, see, this is the word he has used. If the lecturer feels happy that he has delivered a lecture and spouted theosophy, spit and spouted theosophy in a business-like manner is doing harm than good. So lecturers should not be complacent and says, I have given them all that theosophy says. So that's not the way. We should know the psyche of the people who are attending, the nature of people who are the cross section of people who are attending the public meeting. So such a person who is doing a methodical lecture, methodical means following the old methods, he is only doing harm and he's spouting theosophy and not actually delivering theosophy in the way it should be done. So people who have the skill and right aptitude should be trained for this work to lecture in public about theosophy. Lots of work has to be done before a lecture tour is organized. So this here, I would like to quote the way in which Alcott prepared the ground in all the places wherever anniversary was taken for delivering lectures. So this we see from the older reliefs. He has gone first to Ceylon and then came to some parts of India, did all the groundwork, and then invited Madam Anniversary to come and deliver lectures. So this is how some groundwork has to be done even for organizing a lecture tour. Otherwise, the tour undertaken by the lecturer will not yield desired results. So we should look for permanent results and not temporary results. Ah, yes, I had a wonderful tour. That's not the purpose. The purpose should be to achieve better progress for the Theosophical Society and to see that theosophy reaches, the ancient wisdom reaches many. Author talks about articles in newspapers, journals as a mode of publicity. We must master the art of presenting theosophy, which will be interesting and acceptable to an ordinary man. This is something which we should plan. We're not trying to preach to the people who are already preached. We're trying to reach new people. So we should practice and present theosophy, which will be interesting and acceptable to an ordinary man. We should carefully avoid peculiar terminology and modes of expressing truths, dropping words which the public will not be able to understand. So peculiar terminology we should avoid, and modes of expressing the truths of ancient wisdom should be very carefully chosen, says the Taimini. So the Taimini says it's also incumbent to publish magazines and books which deal with actual deeper problems of life using non-theosophical terminology with a particular stamp of theosophical character. This is the words which are picked from the book itself. Author says people accept ideas which have no particular denomination. We have to do all that is possible to make the truths available to common people. Author Sri Taimini Ji says, as most of our theosophical literature is in English, we need to translate the available literature in English into other vernacular regional languages or local languages. We should not attempt translating. How to translate? He is also suggesting we should not attempt adopting literal translations. The translator should make the translation in such a way that the work is more interesting than the original. Theosophical ideas need to be expressed, and if necessary, a glossary needs to be prepared so that all the translators use the same glossary. One translator says astral body as something, another person uses astral body as something else, there will be confusion. So he says, introduce a glossary which needs to be prepared so the translators use the same glossary which while translating, avoiding each translator giving a different name or different word for each concept or a particular theme. So translations should make the readers intellectual and spiritual. Translations should make the readers intellectual and spiritual and make their life more meaningful, more valuable, especially to those who have no access to the original literature in English. So this is what he's saying. Lastly, the author talks about training centers. We used to have workers training camps in the beginning. At Adyar, there used to be one, and So we used to have workers training camps, train workers, but we don't seem to be having that now. Lastly, the author talks about training centers to train a large group of workers, because we need so many groups to work, open the lodges, sustain the lodges, develop the lodges, all that. So training centers to train a large group of workers who can work in different capacities as lecturers, lodge organizers, administrators, etc., etc. And an institute has to be there in each section. Maybe we can think in terms of each federation. I don't know. Each section should have that sort of a training center or institute. There are so many facets which need to be addressed while establishing a training institute. So many facets to be addressed while establishing a training institute. He also suggested somewhere that the section should also publish a journal which will suit the taste of general public. We are, of course, releasing a magazine for the members, but he says section should also concentrate on publishing a magazine which will go into the stands where public can choose to read. So these are all certain items which I have picked from the book, and very little I have added on my own. It is mostly what Taimaniji has presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Krishnaji, for your talk on the 5th chapter of Taimani's Principles of Theosophical Work. You have covered almost all the points regarding the duties and responsibilities, obligations of the section to its members, federations. Even Taimani has emphasized the point that section is not for collecting merely the annual dues and publishing a magazine. I'm sorry for repeating it.
Very right, because it's not just administrative.
Yes. I think we know we are all office bearers of various federations and parcel of the Indian section. So we know the limitations, but we should come out of these limitations. There is a need of the hour. I feel that there should be a special arrangement or meeting for new members who joined within the period of 1 year or 2 years, so that we can impart this wisdom. For example, during this Corona period, many people have joined just after seeing the video programs and audio programs of the various federations and sections. It will be very nice if we may have such a program for the new members. Second thing, about the last point mentioned by Taimani, workers training centers. Workers training centers, previously it was conducted at Adyar in the month of May. This is a very warm month for Chennai people. So on Kamath Fund or something, Dr. Kamath Fund or something, slowly it was stopped due to various reasons. We can think of having a training center at South India, somewhere in Bangalore or in any other convenient place, and impart such a training camp, because it is done by the Indian section. We need not always depend at Adyar, because it's a very busy center. If suppose we are arranging the program, we have to apply very early for permission and convenient accommodation. Campus should be free at that time. Many hindrances are there. We can consider having such a training center at any other place in South India also. Moreover, we should have no feeling that this certain terms were mentioned by Taimani just as propaganda and publicity. These words, we should come out of that such feelings. We should make known to the people that such a thing as theosophy exists. That is our duty. I feel that we are lacking in that purpose, and we are bound by only by the old method. We are very afraid of trying new experiments. So we should have that experimental attitude also. These are the very important points which I feel to emphasize. I think many people are will contribute on this subject. Thank you, Brother Krishna, for your nice talk. We should put it into practice, all the points raised by Taimani and in your talk. Thank you once again.
Our brother Vidut raised his hand. Kindly visit the make your video on. Yes.
Sir, namaste to everyone. And Krishna Garu has given a wonderful lecture actually, and he has given a very good points also, which are the very good beneficial to all the largest actually. If at all any training program is planning, actually, if you plan it in a southern way like Rajahmundry or some other near to tourist place or somewhere, it will be. We are also will support you. You can plan it here training programs, and actually, you here also actually we are our old largest actually now actually reviving, and we are all the new activities are doing actually now. Recently, actually, our lodge is 1933. It is established. In that lodge also, the building is totally collapsed, and we have renovated the entire building. We have all the numbers. We have reconstructed the building, and we are to planning to open the same lodge only, but with the total flooring will be new tiles, and the entire walls will be with the putty and coloring and everything. We have. I will share those photos also. And Krishna Garu actually little bit know about our Rajmin Lodge and Dhauleshwaram Lodge actually. This is only I want to tell actually. Thank
Which
you very
lodge
much
you
for.
belong?
We belong to Godavari Theosophical Society in Dhauleshwaram.
Okay.
That is in East Godavari district in Andhra Pradesh. I am the actually secretary of this lodge, and I am the Telugu Federation treasurer also.
Okay. Any member, any further question? You can ask. Thank you. Otherwise, there is no question, so we can close the session. It is already time over, and a very interesting subject. Now I request Nikalini in the closing prayer.
Namaste to all. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasuma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmang Amrutangamaya Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu न कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
Thank you, brother Krishna sir.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you, Bhagavan ji, for your
Thank you, Brother Pradeep ji.
participation. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Krishna ji.
Yeah.